Hey ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matthew Lundeen. This is episode 13 of the Critical Spectrum podcast. Frank Pontrelli was not here for this episode, but I'm joined by Colin Steele and Michael Murguia. We kind of tried just doing sort of a fade-in intro, but we went on for a long time, about 15 minutes of just banter. And so I'm thinking I'll just cut that and put that in another little bonus episode in the future. So I'm going to start right when we start talking about the Snyder Cut, and then after we talk about the Snyder Cut for a while, the second half of the show will be discussing the first 2 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Hope you enjoy.
Snyder Cut, thing we've been meaning to do for 3 weeks.
Hey, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, I know, same.
What the fuck happened in it? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't really know what to say, because let me just say it's probably gonna be a lot of yelling and disagreement on this one.
Well, maybe not, because Frank isn't here.
That's fair.
Let me just tell you, because I was there while he watched it.
Okay.
He was just as he was watching it, he just got no, okay, well, yeah, he did. He did. He was like, oh, look at how unrelatable this town is.
It is.
He's like, man, wouldn't Middle Earth look so much more realistic? But besides that, he was also just sitting there and he was like, man, fuck Marvel. Look at this shit. I'm like, okay,
but excuse me. Okay.
All right, but go ahead.
Frank, I know you're going to be listening to this at some point in the future. You're wrong.
Okay, well, hold on.
He can't defend himself. Quick.
Okay, no, I'll defend him for him. Colin, what the fuck are you talking about? About things it's a city. I don't get
It's not relatable enough.
Central City looked fine. It was fine.
Right.
Looked realistic.
You saw Central City for 2 seconds.
I know, and that's the Gotham and Central.
It was realistic.
City, the only 2 cities we've seen.
It was realistic that Iris was driving a really nice looking old car that somehow wouldn't start, even though it looks like it was in pristine condition.
Look, I don't care about that.
I like how we're defending it again. I like how we're defending the movie against the criticisms by Colin by tearing into details from the movie.
Okay, I will admit, Metropolis also looked pretty okay in most of the scenes.
I think we should start this off. Okay. Oh, jeez. Okay. Do you have issues you want to list out or
issues?
Okay.
Issues, Matt. 1, hated the gray filter. Annoyed the shit out of me with that.
Okay. Let me stop you for a second. I didn't mind the gray filter, but what I did mind was the not even full screen. What is that? 4:3 aspect
ratio. Yeah.
So what it was full frame. So basically, I didn't actually. I despite being a film critic, I was not aware that film is always in that 4:3 until they cut it down to a widescreen ratio. So technically with this film, you are seeing more of the frame and more stuff in it. But since most people don't have a 4:3 TV or most TVs are designed to be widescreen, some people might not feel as though that is the optimal viewing experience. And for the record, I watched it on my computer because I was watching with friends on Discord.
That sounds terrible.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I needed to say something. I need to just ask a question. Very simple, broad question that will allow me to determine how I'm going to approach talking about this film.
Yeah.
And we'll go one by one. Colin first. Just one word answer.
Yeah.
Did you like this movie?
That's a tough question.
All right. If somebody came up to you and was like, would you recommend this? Should I watch this, bro? What would you say?
I would say
I would say, do you like relatable cities?
I would say if you had the time to kill and nothing better to do, then watch it.
Okay, so then you do not like this movie.
Oh man, that's loaded. Oh man, that's loaded. That is loaded.
There's parts that work well.
Listen,
there's other parts that don't.
Okay, but when you phrase it as if you have nothing better to do, that immediately means that you actually would not recommend it.
But how would you explain it if you're like, there are good parts to this movie, but there are other parts that I hated.
That means that you don't like it.
But means you don't.
That means that some of its parts for you. I know, but like there's parts that you like. But if you like you're like some parts are good, not great, but good. But some parts you just absolutely hate. And the sum of all the parts equal that you do not recommend it.
That's just a Colinism right there. Okay. Hate's a strong word. Disliked is more what I'm trying to say.
Okay, all right. Well, that means you're somewhere in the middle. You gave it like that means you're giving it like a 5.
Yeah.
You're like I can go either way, which means that you would not really recommend it.
All right. So Michael, do you like?
In one word, Michael. Remember, one word.
Yeah, God, you literally like used a fucking paragraph.
All right, you can use a sentence.
Yes.
Too. Okay.
I'm just gonna say yes.
Yes. All right. And I'm also gonna say yes. So I don't know exactly where we want to go first with this. I feel like I kind of want to just approach it from, its beginnings, because something I've noticed as I've thought about the film more since watching it is that it really does follow similar plot beats to the original version by Joss Whedon. I think it's just that, because you got the bringing the team together, the first meeting and the fighting and the kind of fighting and failure, the bringing Superman back in the final battle, all that stuff, but everything is extended. And what would immediately appear to me would I think it's just all the execution of it is so different and so immediately superior to that other version, and a far more thoughtful production with you can tell, like, looking at it, it's like this isn't just that weird amalgamation of someone else's film directed and cut together by a different guy. This is one guy's vision. And I've been hard on Zack Snyder in the past. I feel like we've all been hard on Zack Snyder in the past. I don't think he's perfect at portraying people like Batman in certain ways, and yet in other ways I think he's really good at portraying superheroes. But I do
on that note, Matt, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
That was Batman, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know my gripes with him, but I'm not going to go into that. Actually, a little bit. But
I'm not going to go into it. However, I will go into
So I felt like he didn't contribute that much. And when he did, it wasn't because you've always told me Batman's whole thing was like he doesn't use guns or he doesn't kill people. He wasn't able to do anything in this movie without a gun.
I'd say until he picked up a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And that's something that I realized comparing these two different cuts is because I remember watching Justice League originally after having seen Batman vs. Superman. And Batman vs. Superman, I loved the way that he portrayed Batman and Bruce Wayne, with the exception of the fact that Batman was constantly killing people. And it was just like to a ridiculous extent. Which sucks because when it was just Bruce Wayne on screen, it was just Ben Affleck doing his thing, or Batman in the suit, he looked intimidating. He looked fucking awesome. That is still, I think, my favorite live action Batman suit of all time. And the biggest surprise to me was watching the Snyder Cut and realizing that I still don't like, or I still don't get the same exhilaration from Batman here in Justice League that I got from BVS. But and you're right, he didn't feel like he contributed as much, probably because of just how like huge the power scaling is in Zack
Right.
Snyder's DC universes.
Yeah.
But I think that for me, Snyder did something a lot more unique with Batman here. And I think he made a film where every scene with Bruce Wayne was like one of my favorites. Like, I think that for once, a Batman movie, Bruce Wayne is a more interesting character to me than Batman. Like, every Batman actor either does Bruce Wayne really well and Batman kind of meh, or they do Batman really well and Bruce Wayne kind of meh. Most times there's gray areas.
Going off that point, actually, I feel like I would have liked Batman / Bruce Wayne in this movie, like, because, you know, as you said, he's supposed to be the older, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like one way they could have made him seem to contribute more is just make him the man behind the chair. Give him Alfred's role, essentially. Like, he's too old to be out in the field anymore, but he provides tech support, essentially.
Yeah.
Give him Alfred's role. And
fucking put his ass in Geek Squad, bro.
Well, no, but I mean, that Colin's idea is actually not that bad, because if you think about it, that's kind of what Bruce Wayne was doing in like the old Batman Beyond series. He was the guy in the chair. He was the guy working behind the scenes while the new Batman, Terry McGinnis, was kind of flying around future Gotham. So, and with how much of a presence someone like Ben Affleck has in the role as Bruce Wayne, something like that could have worked really well. Because, you know, I look back on the Joss Whedon Justice League. I fucking hate that movie, but
yeah,
I still think that the outfit at the end of Justice League with Batman with those dumb goggles and like the random like armor on the suit, it reminds me too much of like it's like a slightly better version of George Clooney's outfit from the end of Batman and Robin. That's to me how kind of meh that suit looks. Yeah. But I gotta say, like, I know you have some gripes with the gray filter on this movie, but I feel like this movie just looks and feels so much better than the Joss Whedon version.
So I understand. So this is where my biggest issue comes in, not with the movie itself, but with the people who are giving it such high praises around it.
Right.
In that I don't think people are seeing it as like the movie for what it is. They're seeing it as compared to the old one, which, yeah, don't get me wrong, that should be a big part of it. But they're not saying like, yeah, this is a good movie because of just what's going on in it. They're saying, wow, look at how much better it is than this other movie. And that's why they're giving it such high praises.
Well, that's why I think I rated Solo, because I'll be honest, I don't remember shit about the original cut. So
yeah, I was kind of going in with a cleaner lens, but I feel like I also kind of fell victim to that. Like I myself was also like, oh, wow, like look at how good this is. But then after I looked at it, I was like, and I think I'm only thinking that because of how low the bar was set already for me.
Yeah.
But then again, like it's for me, it's not just a matter of like, oh, you know, the music is different, which by the way, Tom Holkenborg, aka
the music was fucking great.
The music is so I posted in the group chat not too long ago that one song At the Speed of Force, which is like the Flash's like theme in the movie. Like that almost brought me to tears. I love that song. I really just love everything that Junkie XL did with the BVS soundtrack, and being able to finally hear his music that was advertised for the movie way back is awesome. That being said, like when I'm looking at the stuff that was added, like I can't compare 60% of this movie to the old one. I can't, because it's stuff that wasn't even there. It's all completely new stuff, and that's why I feel like I'm safe in asserting that I'm not entirely just comparing this to the old one. I'm going to challenge myself not to mention the 2017 or whatever year that movie came out for the rest of its review. I don't remember either. But like, I think the moment I realized that the movie was like, oh yeah, this movie is going to be great, it was when they did the first fight scene with Wonder Woman, where she is like beating up all those terrorists. And, you know, there have been very different portrayals as to like how Wonder Woman fights in this DC universe. Her fighting in Wonder Woman was very different from her fighting in Wonder Woman 84, which is also very different from how she fights here. Seeing her deflect all those bullets at superhuman speed, like, oh my God, it just so quickly, I was like blown away by the fight choreography and like the force behind all the hits. And I can really see like some improvement from how they used to do CGI in a lot of these DC films. Like stuff like some of the fight scenes in Wonder Woman, for as enjoyable as they were, sometimes it could look a little bit off. But here I felt like most of the time the fight choreography was really on point.
Yeah, I feel like it was a very satisfying fight, but I will say I saw a lot of issues with the CGI, at least throughout the movie, not just with that fight. Like that fight was overall, I think probably some of the, not the best CGI, but like of the new stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that was the best CGI of the new stuff that I saw.
I felt, I did feel, gotta agree with you. CGI, that's the word I'm looking for. Gotta say, I felt the CG was very inconsistent. It could be very good at times, and then other times it was really bad.
I think that's just it.
Okay, can you give an example of a time when like it was bad, for instance?
Can I lead with that, Colin?
Yeah, go for it.
So the thing that really sticks out to me is actually right in the beginning where it shows what is it, Jesse Eisenberg, Lex. Mm-hmm. I think it's in the beginning, and it shows him in the water again talking to Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I could 100% tell it was literally just him sitting there and turning. Like there was no physics on the water. The water had like it was terrible. Like for me, like really? Just that scene. Yeah, I don't know if you guys maybe I'm just the only one who noticed it, but
I didn't notice.
That it just looked so bad to me because like he was turning, he was moving, but like nothing around him was reacting to his movements, and that just was really jarring. It just threw me out of it for a second. But since it was in the beginning, I kind of like forgot about it pretty easily.
Right.
But just that thing itself, I was like, wow, that was pretty bad. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, I already know the CGI on some of these parts is probably going to be pretty bad.
I also felt a lot of the, what I'm going to assume are the added scenes backgrounds were really bad and super oversaturated. Like when Diana was getting the Arrow of Artemis from the temple, right? Mm-hmm. There was one scene where there was like, it must have been like sunset or something like that. But it was just so, you guys remember the Attack of the Titan movie? Not that, it was like the Greek god movies, Clash of the Titans. The backgrounds just reminded me of that. And it just
I've never seen that, so I don't have a comparison, but I know what you're talking about though. I do know what you're talking about.
I will say the Age of Heroes fight scene where like with like the lanterns and everyone, I like that a lot. That was really good, even though it was very CG based. But in that sense, I feel like it worked because everything in the shot was at that quality. When you have an actual set with like the columns and Gal Gadot as an actual person with the background that is the level of Clash of the Titans, which means not good. It's just very a stark contrast that really throws you out of the moment.
Right. No, I definitely understand because I felt that myself. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Well, no, I'm confused as to what part of the movie we're discussing.
When the Artemis arrow is like burning down the thing and she goes after that, he's talking about that when she gets the arrow.
Okay, you thought the backgrounds looked odd?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I can agree with. Some of that was like, it wasn't like terrible for me, but that's only because when I think back, I don't think I was really, like for me, I was more center focused, so I wasn't really looking around, you know? So for me, I don't think I noticed it as much, but when I think back to it, I do remember like kind of thinking like, yeah, this looks a little off. One of the bigger things was the whole beginning fight with like crumbling the what was that? The like temple that was holding the mother box in Themyscira.
Yeah.
That whole part, I was like, wow, this just does not look that great.
What part specifically?
Not the whole part of it, just specifically when they're in the temple and she's like running out and all that stuff. Like that whole thing just was kind of jarring to me. Like the slow motion running that was kind of choppy sometimes, and just like I don't know. It totally, like what Colin was saying, it kind of looks like it was like the background was kind of off. I mean, I feel like I'd have to watch it again just to reiterate what I was thinking at the moment. But I just remember when I saw that, I was like, wow, this is really kicking me out of it. But honestly, that was probably the worst of it for me. When I saw after that, it got like 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm pretty sure the only reason all of that CGI that we're talking about was, you know, kind of crappy was probably the new shoots that he was doing. Obviously, he didn't have the actual set to go to and all that kind of stuff. He had to work with what he had. So I understand it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think most of the stuff in the temple, I think, was already because when he did the reshoots, I don't think he had all of the cast back for that week of reshoots that you did, or I don't know if it was a week or I think it was just a week. But
oh, well then that's terrible.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, it's that's what I'm saying. It's not like it was terrible enough for me to be like, "Whoa, this whole movie's terrible." It's just that part really just threw me out of it. Like I remember the specific part. I don't even think it was CGI. It was just the way. This is just a nitpick, but when she turned around and just randomly started running up the wall just to drop onto a fucking parademon that wasn't even there in the first place, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Oh, speaking of that whole like part of the movie, real quick side tangent. I thought Steppenwolf's facial animations were really good.
Yeah,
that was great.
Scenes, those were really good. But back to like the whole like temple collapse part. What was super odd to me was that the gray filter weirdly went away for like 5 minutes during that part, and then it came back.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Part of me feels like that was part of the reshoots because I feel like just how the CGI looked, I feel like some of that had to be new, just because it did not match up with some of the good CGI later in the movie. I mean, I could be wrong. I obviously I don't know like the actual in-depth history of the movie and what he had to reshoot, what he didn't, but from what I'm seeing, like that just stood out to me as like, yeah, he totally had to do a reshoot and he was just pressed for time, and this is the best they could do.
Yeah.
Obviously after that, like after leaving the temple and it shatters and crumbles, that all looked completely fine. I do think that was like already, like you were saying, Matt, like I think that all that was already made, but I feel like the whole temple thing, I don't think that was made yet.
Right.
Yeah. Part of me, it's like the whole Age of Heroes thing, right? Kind of going off of that.
Right.
I thought the Green Lantern thing was pretty dope.
Okay.
But I feel like it shouldn't have been in this movie because they don't have an established Green Lantern.
I feel like it was fine if they were going to establish it later, which obviously that's what he was planning on doing.
Yeah.
Right.
The only reason that I don't like it is because that Green Lantern literally did nothing but shoot a green beam. I'm like, bro, what the fuck is that?
Well, that's another thing is that it was one Green Lantern. That's it.
It was one of two Green Lanterns we saw in the movie.
Wait, what was the other one?
Well, the second one. Remember that like flash forward to the future?
Oh, yeah. The one that was, yep.
Yeah.
I remember that. I mean, but to be fair, Colin, I think there's usually like one lantern per like quadrant of the universe or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Or a solar system, however that works.
I get on that shit.
But I just feel like that was just like such an anticlimactic way of using the first time since like fucking the Green Lantern movie having a lantern on the big screen.
Yeah.
And you just have him like shoot a laser like 3 times and then all of a sudden just dies really easily to Darkseid.
Yeah. Well, Darkseid also, I thought his CG was really good.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah.
Steppenwolf?
No, Darkseid.
Oh, sorry. I got a message. But yeah,
damn, so a message is more important. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, everyone, I feel like everybody in the whole like apocalypse narrative was like the CGI was done incredibly. But I think special mention has to go to Steppenwolf because I know there was some people who were like, "Oh man, they just made him this like big like metal guy," but like one, his armor looked metal as fuck, and I'm like metal as in like it looked bitchin' and baller as hell. It was spiky. It was fucking freaky. It was awesome. But his facial animation, like the expressiveness of that motherfucker, and like you can tell that this guy is just a total fucking like fucking tsundere for Darkseid. Like he is just like
for Darkseid.
Yeah, exactly. And like he's so much more interesting, and like he actually has like he has a motivation. Like he has failed Darkseid, who is, I think, according to comic lore, I think is like technically his like nephew, and now he's like, so he's just desperately trying to like win back the favor of like someone who is, you know, above him. And
wait, Steppenwolf is Darkseid's nephew?
Steppenwolf, I think, is Darkseid's uncle.
Okay.
And so I just thought that everything
involving that little shit out.
I feel like everything involving Steppenwolf was so like he was so much more of an imposing villain, partially because of like the action and his design and the CGI, but also just because I feel like they had more time to really give him like make him an actual character. So yeah, I was so impressed with what they were able to do with him, and like in addition to setting up, because like there was a lot of concerns. Like my dad was kind of telling me, it's like I don't know if I can get excited for this movie because technically it's part one. Like when they were originally writing Justice League, Snyder back in the day, like it was supposed to be like Justice League Part 1, and there was going to be a Justice League Part 2 that was all the stuff that came after this. And I mean, they certainly hint at a lot of stuff that could, you know, be further in the future. But I just, even with the stuff that is self-contained in this film, I felt like they did a really good job with the antagonist. And given the length that they had, the amount of time, I think it really gave them the freedom to introduce each member of the League really effectively.
Yeah, for sure.
Almost to the point that I've been comparing Justice League to kind of like the Lord of the Rings extended editions. Like it's dense, it's hyper dense. There's moments where there's just like characters regaling other characters with like lore of, you know, elaborate battles from years past, and it's all just very epic and like I said, dense, and like just, and sometimes there's stuff that's like maybe not necessary, but it adds texture, like Aquaman going into the water and then just that choir of women just singing as at his departure. I love that. I do
want to say two things about Aquaman and that scene specifically. I did not like that scene. It went on for way too fucking long. In the beginning, it was fine, but then it like kept going, and I was like, this should have ended like a minute ago.
Yeah, I have also another thing about Aquaman after you.
Okay. But the other thing I want to talk about is since this was made before Aquaman, I can get why he did this.
Yeah.
But they only talk underwater when they make the bubble. When in Aquaman, they could talk underwater without making like an air bubble.
But
that bothered me.
But I seem to remember in Aquaman there was the scene where they were like in that like that ship underwater, and they could like walk around because they created an air bubble. So don't you think that maybe they could like that the same rules apply? I don't know. I'd have to watch Aquaman again.
I guess I understand it, because I think the whole reason in Aquaman, if I'm not mistaken, is to make the air bubble because only royals can step in that or something like that. But I want to say, like, I don't think anybody talks underwater unless there's an air bubble. And that's what really bothered me.
You know what bothered me, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
They broke their own lore established in the same movie as in this movie. Because when Batman and Wonder Woman are looking at footage of Aquaman doing Aquaman shit underwater, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has the fucking pike.
No, that's another issue.
Okay.
That I didn't even think of. But I forgot the exact line, but Batman's Diana's like, how he's an Atlantean, how did he breathe air? And then Batman's like, oh, I don't know, I saw him breathe air, and then she's like, oh, it must be a half-breed, filthy half-breed. But later on, with the Atlantean Steppenwolf drags out of the water, he's clearly breathing air, and he's not half human, half Atlantean. And in the Age of Heroes scene, all the Atlanteans are breathing air just fine.
That's because that's before they went beneath. That's before Atlantis sunk below the sea.
Right, but that still shouldn't But then that should imply all Atlanteans can breathe water anyway, or breathe air anyway. I will
say I agree with him in that. So the Age of Heroes thing is incorrect because, like you said, they all went into the sea, so that could be completely
and then
different.
Here's what I think happened. I think it was over generations they became only able to breathe underwater.
No, but but the guy Steppenwolf interrogated was breathing it just fine.
That's what I was gonna say.
But remember, remember in the Aquaman movie, like they could breathe so long as they were. Okay, I'm talking to Michael though, but Michael had Michael saw it like twice with me, well, once with me.
I've seen it like 4 times.
You've seen it like 4 times. It's a good movie. It's stupid. It's not great, but it's great.
it's stupidly great. It's weird.
Yeah.
But continue.
It's got the Asian guy from Ant-Man the Wasp in it, and he's like, it's the Atlanteans, I'm telling you, Agent Jim. Yeah. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, but I would assume that it was just their suits that like allowed them to breathe.
So, but in Aquaman, they had a helmet that allowed them to breathe.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think. I think that's just an oversight. Again, this is all nitpicking. Realistically, I didn't think of this. I think it's just nitpicking. But yes, I do understand where you're coming from. That definitely was like a break in their canon they just fucking put out.
Another nitpick about Aquaman.
Okay.
His trident is not a goddamn trident. It's a pendident.
I don't think they called it a trident in the movie, though.
No,
he did. He said, take up your mother's trident.
Oh, did he? I don't give a fuck. It's Aquaman.
Fucking green
trident. It's not a trident.
I don't give a fuck. He has a trident in the Aquaman movie. That's enough for me. And it looks awesome. No. All right.
He looks fucking so cool in that movie.
Can we just have a small moment of appreciation for Aquaman being like that? Just the movie Aquaman for having like a comic accurate Aquaman suit that looked sexy as hell.
It looks so cool. That looks
so cool. And also in a franchise that tends to have an issue with final battles, that final battle in Aquaman was sick.
That was.
Yeah.
Call me Ocean Master. One more nitpick for Aquaman that is actually not really like anything that's important. I love Aquaman, so I just always notice this because technically I watched the beginning like twice. Mm-hmm. When he grabs a bottle of whiskey and he walks on the platform and drinks it. He does not finish the bottle, and that bothers the shit out of me.
Oh my god, my friend Andrew, who I watched it with, said the exact same thing. He was like,
bro,
he didn't finish it.
I was like, there's like a whole just 2 shots left, bro.
So speaking of that scene, I felt they used slow-mo and emotional music way too often. I felt that scene could have been a lot cooler if they didn't slow-mo it down and just him drinking and disappearing in the wake.
I don't mind the slow-mo. I just thought the music didn't really fit. Like the words of the music kind of fit, but like the overall like feel of the song, I feel like did not fit that scene.
I don't know.
I felt like every character had a weird slow-mo emotional music scene, and it was really weird to me.
I don't know. Oh yeah, I guess the whole Barry did on his own too. I don't think it was that weird. Although it was kind of weird that he just like fucking fixed her hair. Like, bro, chill, dog. Like, you're kind of on stalker level there.
No. Can I bring up one last thing that I think is a funny thing?
Oh my god, if this is about Aquaman, I swear to
God. It's not. It's a funny thing that made me laugh.
Okay.
All right, good.
So you know the part where they're like, all the people store the mother boxes according to their culture. It's all these scenes.
Yes, I know exactly what you're gonna say, but yeah, go ahead.
And shit. And then it gets to man, and like, we dig hole, we put box in hole.
My favorite part is they didn't even dig it deep. They dug it like 2-3 feet, and then fucking look at each other like, yeah, that's good enough.
You know what's hilarious though is that their method prove
the most effective
because fucking Cyborg does the exact same thing, and it's the last motherfucker to be found.
Nobody would have thought that they would just bury it in some like on 2 feet of dirt some random place. All right.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's a good point because if you think about it, like the Atlanteans and the Themyscirans all put theirs in like in their own home turf.
Like they're fucking like like they put it on an altar and shit, like trying to like worship it or some shit.
Whereas man just kind of like hit it, and then like I know that Cyborg's dad just had it because I guess they discovered it, and then that's how
Did they
Cyborg
ever
was
say
made.
how he got it?
I don't think they ever did.
I'm assuming just excavating, but
Oh, and can we talk about? And by the way, fuck Jeff Johns and whoever else fucking was called out at DC for being shitheads. Because and also fuck Joss Whedon, because Cyborg was the heart and soul of this movie, and for the amount of stuff that was cut from the film. And I know I said I wasn't going to mention the other one, but I have to mention it. This is a special case. Fuck you, Joss Whedon, because some of the scenes with Cyborg are like the best in this entire movie. I felt like
that going off of that, I feel like the whole Batman behind the chair thing could have synergized with what they had going on with Cyborg in this movie, right?
Yeah,
a lot more.
No, yeah, you got a good point.
That's what I'm saying.
I wasn't that big of a fan of Cyborg. I didn't like dislike him, like say like, oh, he's a terrible character. I just I feel like my biggest issue with just DCEU in general is just like they don't set things up beforehand. So like the fact that like, yeah, this is a 4-hour movie, but like technically like 2 hours of it was like the actual like Justice League getting together and doing Justice League things. Whereas the first 2 hours they had to like actually set up the characters that they did not set up previously.
But would you not say that they set them up really well with just this one film?
Yeah, they did, but that's the thing though, they had 4 hours to do it. Like, yeah, with 4 hours I could, I feel like that's somewhat easier to like set something up. If you were to take like a normal cut of a movie, because let's be honest, they're really not going to release a 4-hour movie in like normal theater. So if this was a normal theater, this movie would have been cut down. I don't think, like if it was a part 1 and part 2, like you were saying, I think part 1 was literally going to be almost all set up, and part 2 would have been the actual rest of the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, but to be fair, like I'm kind of glad that this movie is getting received as well as it is, because I do think we shouldn't be afraid to have longer films. Like I'm not saying we have to sit down in a theater for a 4-hour movie, but we should definitely be more willing to sit down for 3-hour movies. That can get across about as much information. If we were able to, I mean, Endgame was 3 hours, and I think everyone
Avatar,
Avatar
and Endgame were both 3 hours and among the like biggest box office things in the world.
Avatar was 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Avatar was 3 hours.
I only saw it once.
Real quick about Avatar. What's the guy's name who directed and made
James Cameron?
That's right. How James Cameron did the pettiest fucking thing and re-released in China for like.
Actually, I think China re-released it.
Oh, whatever.
Like, I think the government themselves wanted to re-release it.
Well, whatever. But like, what the hell? You just had to do that to take it back from Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like Avatar is just really overhyped, personally. But that's a whole different topic.
Yeah. Well, because it's just the Smurfs are the fucking. Well, not Smurfs. It's fucking Pocahontas.
Yeah.
And it's just really good CGI for the time, but it's like now it's just kind of like, okay, like it was good for the time and it's still great now, but like,
I was gonna say it is still great now. I just
don't get me wrong, it's really great now still, but like I just feel like that's really all it had. Besides that, like there was nothing too special about the movie itself.
Guys, don't worry.
I felt
2 is certainly coming. Don't worry about it.
Avatar like 2 through like 6 is coming or some shit.
Jesus Christ. Okay, that's another thing. Like Nostalgia Critic had a review of like Alita Battle Angel, which if you haven't seen it, watch Alita Battle Angel. Great film by Robert Rodriguez, and was produced and produced. Yeah, I know. I've been telling you we need to watch it together. Directed by Robert Rodriguez and produced by James Cameron. And that was a great film. With so much more genuine and heartfelt than I think most people expected. But like it didn't do well at the box office because of bad advertising, and now like what? Like we get fucking 5 more Avatar movies, but we don't get like another sequel to Alita. That's Hollywood makes me sad sometimes.
Yeah. I feel that, but it also does go off of to be fair, it goes off what they think people want to watch.
Yeah. But going back to the whole grace with the DCE universe, whatever.
movie universe. I feel like their main downfall was that they tried so hard to catch up to where Marvel is in like their big.
Oh, for sure.
In their big like team up. They didn't take the time to make individual movies and then do the team up movie.
I still think overall they did a poor job with the events they were trying to do. I think that was just a really kind of poor job in my opinion.
I mean, in terms of the movies leading up to it, or this movie on its own.
No, not the movie on its own. The movie on its own was like, if I just take the movie for what it is, like overall, like if I take it as a separate movie, I think it was great. But if I put it in with the other beats of the rest of the DCEU, like saying like, oh, you know, you have basically like how it's supposed to come out and how it's supposed to go. You basically have Man of Steel, then you have Batman vs Superman, which literally you get one movie with Superman, then he dies, and then he comes back to write next movie. I think that's a terrible idea. I think that was awful. So just that alone, that's really the biggest thing I guess that bothers me is just like, he's here, oh he's gone, and now oh he's back again, and it's like that was just such a wasted storyline. I feel like
there should have been another Man of Steel.
Oh yeah, either another Man of Steel or like they should have 2 Man of Steels, and then they should have honestly either had a Batman or something else.
Yeah.
That like still had, you know, Superman in it a little bit, at least that set up Batman versus Superman a little bit more, I guess. Not like the main plot line, but like in the background or something.
Right.
And then Batman and Superman would be good there. And even then, like I feel like they really should have like Batman and Superman should have been like where Civil War was in Marvel's thing. Like they really should have put that farther down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have
but at the same time, I think we should be careful, not because I think we're falling into a similar trap that executives at DC fell into, where it was like, well, it's got to be like Marvel, and I feel like
but I feel like they didn't fall enough into that trap because
it has a beat like Marvel. It's just basic story beats that you have to follow,
and not even story beats. Like I don't even care about the story beats. What they should have done is, like, I personally think should have. If they were trying to actually do a universe, like they want to do like an actual universe, like kind of do close to what Marvel was doing, they should have, the only thing I would want them to copy, because I like the grittiness of DC overall. I think that's kind of cool. But the only thing they should have copied is how they released their movies. I would have been completely fine with that. I don't care if it's different directors, you know, if they have to change it that way, that's completely fine. So let them be creative and all that stuff. But I just want them to not just be like, here's one movie and then here's a team up movie. Like, y'all need to chill with that.
That's fair. That's fair. I get a bit wary when it comes to that, because Marvel, for all of its charm, and we're going to be discussing quite a lot of its charms in the second half of the show. I feel like there's also just this insistence on like, you know, compromising certain ideas because we need to have our cameos and our interconnectedness. And sometimes it's just nice to have something that's so disconnected as to be like, just let people do whatever the fuck they want.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I think that's cool. And I really hope Marvel starts doing some of that stuff too. Like just, you know, have like random things. But like, honestly, like what it feels like to me is basically like if you took Captain America and you watched Captain America and then you watched Civil War right after that. Then right after that, you watched Avengers.
Right.
That's what it feels like to me. Like if you're taking it into Marvel, like that's basically what DC was doing. They're like, let's do like fucking, I don't know. It just doesn't work like that overall for the DCU. I just don't think they should do that.
For story beats real quick. There was one scene that also made me laugh, but just I don't think it was intentional. Because you know the one scene where the whole team was gonna fight Steppenwolf in like the big tower for the first time?
Yeah.
Or whatever. They're like, I forget who says it, but someone's like, it's a long way up. And I expected them to be like a cool scene of like all of them using their various powers to get up there really quickly. No, just jumps cut to them slowly walking upstairs.
Yeah, I assume that's supposed to be like a comical scene because
there's nothing to indicate that. It was like, even with it had serious music. It wasn't.
I think that's why it was. I hope it was because that's how I took it. As I feel like they were purposely trying to make it seem so serious that these heroes are doing something heroic, but they're just fucking walking upstairs. I feel like they did that on purpose.
But I think the problem with that, even if that was on purpose, was to me it didn't feel like it because there was nothing else in the movie that was to that same level of comedy.
I mean, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I don't know. To me, I was hoping it was supposed to be like that, but honestly, I truly don't think it was supposed to be like that either. But
I did really enjoy. There were certain lines from like the old trailers back before the switch up where like there were certain bits of comedy, and then like those parts got like cut out of the final movie. And like I just remember there was the funny line where it's Wonder Woman and it's Bruce like talking about like so how'd recruiting Aquaman go? It's like, is he gonna join? It's like more or less, more or more or less.
Yeah.
And it's like
more or less. No. He said no. Yeah, he said
no. And I love that line. You know, it's like
that was a really good line.
Snyder's stuff isn't all serious. There is some levity when there needs to be. Although it is a lot more based in kind of serious moments, but also I think a lot of more some emotional and human moments. As soon as Superman came back and just seeing the way that was done here, it just made me remember and made me sad why like I love Henry Cavill, because like, you know, his stories, you know, Man of Steel and BVS, you know, they could be grim, but
Wind's Howling.
Wind's Howling.
I'll be really in season 2 of Witcher, they don't have that as a line.
Wind's Howling. Oh yeah.
Sorry, continue, man.
But
that in, I was like, I gotta remember.
Like I watched the clip from the very end of Man of Steel. I don't know. You both have seen Man of Steel, right?
Yeah.
Well, you remember the end of the scene where he goes to the Daily Planet, and he's in his like human disguise, and he goes up to Lois, and she just says like, "Welcome to the planet." And he says, "Happy to be here, Lois," and he smiles, and my heart just flutters, because I'm like, that's Superman. Like I see the Man of Steel. I see that like compassionate boy from Kansas who like fights for justice, and I'm like, I just so wish that we got another movie with him, because I think that, you know, there's a lot of stories about Superman. There's plenty of stories, especially now, from other creators that kind of, you know, diss on just even the idea of Superman. And I just think we really just need a new Superman movie. We need to see a Superman that smiles. That's really what I want. I want to see a poster for a Henry Cavill Superman. I just want the poster to be him like doing his like Superman pose, just smiling. And just I want to
having a good time.
I want a Superman movie that can just kind of make people feel happy again. I just feel like that's the effect that this character can have at his best.
Going off of that, I completely agree with you on that one, Matt. And I know Michael said he really likes the darker tone of the movies, but at the same time, not seeing the human interaction moments between these heroes, it's just not relatable. I just don't care because I can't relate to them on a personal level.
I can give you that. So the only reason why I like the grittiness, I just feel like it really helps them separate themselves from Marvel. Because
I get that, sure, but
I just feel like going too much into lighthearted comedy is just not for. I just feel like that's not like the traditional DC characters I think of. Like I think of like a more of a dark, because Batman's a little bit more dark. You know,
you can still have those human moments, though. I feel like between the characters,
and
just having a good time.
I mean, to me, I did feel some of those human moments, because for me, I think a big like it was a small thing, but to me it was like, you know, to some it could be a small thing, but to me I think it was a much bigger moment, and it's in the latter half of the film after the fight, where like after Superman comes back, and then after like all that shit goes down with Victor's dad, like, you know, Victor is like really broken up, and he's in a really bad place with grief, and like, so, and I just liked that there was this moment of like the characters like feeling like they clearly felt really concerned for Victor since he is a kid, and they kind of like their plan that kind of went south, roped him and his family into this and got them hurt. And I especially loved Aquaman kind of like being like, see, we never should have done this. That the man's dead because we screwed up. And to me, those were the moments between the team that I really enjoyed. Those, smaller moments. It's not just them fighting together, it's them planning together. And I thought that was I thought there was enough substance there that by the end, I felt there was a strong bond there.
I get what you're saying. I will agree with you. The parts where they were planning were some of the better parts of the movie. But at the same time, how you're saying that, like how they're like, he's just a kid and those kinds of moments, when we don't see the two sides of the coin of serious moment bonding and just casual, lighthearted bonding, it makes the planning more serious bonding feel like they just have a work relationship. Like you tolerate these people, which I get is kind of what they're going with.
That's kind of how they're going for it.
But at the same time, again, it just doesn't make me like these characters as much.
And I can agree with you on that. I mean, I feel like that's part of why you love, like, for me, that's part of why I love the Avengers, is because, like, they're very good at showing, like, they're kind of chilling. Obviously, yeah, that's also kind of a work relationship. They have their kind of breakup moments and stuff, but you do get that, like, kind of hang out, chill, shawarma moments.
Yeah.
Whereas, see that, and this I feel like kind of goes back to just the nature of the DC universe right now, where they don't have time to do those moments right now. They literally had to set up these characters, get them together, and then do their whole journey within this whole movie. And I feel like that was, that's where you lose those kind of moments. They don't have time to kind of just put in that extra tidbits here and there for that kind of like, oh, like, look at, they're just kind of hanging out. They're just chilling. But again, this is also where, like I was saying, they don't have time to hang out because it's the first movie they're together and you don't really see them together before.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have time to do that because they're just like, oh yeah, we all need to get together. Oh no, wait, now there's a world ending event. We have to go do this now. Like there's no time for that kind of thing right now.
But in that same way, I feel like DC shot themselves in the foot with that, in that.
Oh no. And that's what I agree with that for sure. Like they just, that's part of my gripe. Like you were saying, like, I understand where you're coming from with that. I understand why they couldn't do that. But again, that's just kind of the nature of the film, of what they had to do with it and what time they had to do. Because again, although they had 4 hours, that's realistically not a lot of time to introduce technically 3 characters and, have them come together, have them actually have a reason to work together, and then have them actually work together.
Right.
Not a lot of time. So that's where, it's just to the detriment of the whole film overall.
I feel like there were some moments, maybe not of like inherently, it wasn't like they were, going out to lunch or something like that. But I mean, there was bits of more levity in certain conversations.
Yeah, no, there was for sure. But the reason there was, though, is because it was usually by characters that somewhat knew each other beforehand. Like Bruce and Wonder Woman, like they obviously met in Batman vs Superman. They had their whole thing there. So now in here, their banter and stuff like that felt more natural. Like you felt like, okay, like they're actually like bantering. They're kind of friends-ish kind of thing.
Yeah, but Barry and Victor had some moments as well.
I was about to bring that up. Is that I agree with you. Barry and Victor were some of the most human characters, and that's why I actually cared about them somewhat.
That's true. Okay, that is true. Yeah, they did have some moments. I forgot about that. So
can I just say, I think, and Mauricio on YouTube goes by the name Brown Table. He did a wonderful video about the Snyder Cut, and he was talking about the moment with the Flash, like at the end, with that kind of is like that you just can tell it's like, oh, this is like building up to like probably. I mean, I don't know how the script has changed, but you can tell it's kind of building up to like the Flashpoint paradox. because like, you know, with him like going, you know, like reversing time. Oh man, I just think that is one of the that might be, and I'm watching the film again with my family tomorrow or sometime soon in the future, but that could very easily grow on me even more than it already has into one of like my favorite like comic book movie moments, just because it's just so it like I watch that, I'm just like, oh, that is just everything that I've always believed the Flash to be, and like just it solidified mwah, perfectly in a movie moment. I absolutely loved that scene, and the music again by Junkie XL. I thought that just oh man, I told you guys that when I was writing my notes for this movie for this review, I was listening to that song in the background while I was writing it, and I was getting a little misty eyed just thinking about it, because I feel like this film kind of hit me emotionally more than I was expecting it to.
Right.
I just feel like it's just the difference of, you know, having just this completely unfiltered vision of one creator, you know, wanting to just tell the biggest and most bold story he can. And it was actually kind of inspiring to me, just because, you know, I have my own creative projects that I've been working on for a long time, and I don't know, watching the Snyder Cut kind of like gave me a lot more hope that I could finish those things and have them be like maybe not to other people, but to me, to like make my own masterpieces. And I don't know, the experience of Zack Snyder's Justice League, beyond simply being an enjoyable film to me, I think it was really it kind of inspiring to see that this film even is allowed to exist.
Yeah, no, and I get that. I understand. I really do think that is really cool overall, and I really hope that more studios start to do stuff like this, because obviously there's all movies have probably been abridged in some kind of way. There's really no movie out there, at least that I can think of off the top of my head right now. Like I know there probably are, but I just can't think of any that really like had that like, yeah, like go ahead, you are doing your thing now. Like this is what you plan on doing. Just go do it. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's movies out there that actually were like what the director was wanting to do, but there's no movie that really has gone back, at least to this extent, to allow him to do that. But at the same time, this kind of goes back to what I was trying to say before, and that I feel like a lot of the praise is coming from people just wanting this to happen more, so they want to put the rating up. Which, don't get me wrong, I don't mind. I don't really care, only because I want it to happen more as well. But I feel like it's just something where we have to not lose focus on the movie itself, instead of just saying like, yeah, like, you know, it made me, you know, yeah, like I'm sure like I was saying, Matt, like it's fine that you were feeling emotional. Like I understand that. For me, obviously it's different because I'm not in that same headspace as you, but I'm in this headspace of like, I don't want people just to see this movie as a great movie because of, you know, it's just because it's Zack Snyder's like version of it. I want them to like it if it's a good movie, that kind of thing. So that's where my issue with that whole thing is that it's just, again, it's a great thing that he was able to do this. I just don't want that to be the main focus of everybody's reviews and all their kind of thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of where I've seen it come from. Like a lot of like comment section, stuff like that. Everybody's like, oh, like, great. I'm glad that, you know, this is way better. Like, again, they always go back to, it was better than the last one. It's like, you know, like, don't think about it like that. Think about it. Is this just a good movie in general? And, you know, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I can't really put my thoughts across exactly how I'm trying to say it, but I'm sure you kind of get the gist.
Right. And I mean, there could be some inherent, you know, small, you know, smidgen of bias because of my thoughts in the other movie. But
right. Don't get me wrong. I 100% have the same thing. It's hard for me to get myself out of that headspace because I'm just thinking about like,
your bias
filter. That red filter on that fucking movie was so bad. And for fucking Russian family and oranges in the beginning. What was all that shit?
Oh, jeez.
What movie was this?
The original Justice League.
Oh.
So, you know, just stuff like that was what was getting like, you know, I will fully come out and say I do think I have that bias and that I'm thinking of like, yeah, well, it's better than the other one. But it's really hard for me to try to take myself out of that space and think like, yeah, like, you know, it's just it's just its own movie.
But you know, I think just because it's seen it, like it is, you have to kind of remember it as well. Like I think there's some forgiveness there because this is so different and has so much new stuff and a restructuring of the entire like dramatic arc and the dramatic tension. There were so many moments where characters were far more emotional than anything I'd seen in previous iterations. And that's kind of like why I was so there was some doubts like, oh man, do I really think that this version of the Flash can hold his own in his own film? And now I'm convinced, like especially seeing like like there was that moment where he got like shot and he kind of like over the radio, like he was just like, no, yeah, I'm fine, but like then you look and you see like, oh he got
you're
fucked.
like, oh he's not fine.
He's not fine. But like it's just that moment of this guy just like he doesn't want them to be worried and jeopardize the plan, and he's so like in that zone where he's just like, no, I can't be a failure right now. I have to be the best of the best.
Right.
Like no one ever was.
That was honestly like that whole part was probably my favorite part of the whole movie. Yeah. Was like, oh, I'm fine, healing himself, and then like fucking turning back time. That was probably my favorite part of the entire movie. I will say I want to go back to kind of like two of my nitpicks that I kind of talked about. One of them was just how long the scenes are. Like some scenes I feel like were probably going to be part of like deleted scenes, but they decided to keep them in. Like first off, the singing part, just that I think went on a little bit too long. But the other one that we didn't really touch too much on, like with Cyborg in general, was his whole like explaining his power kind of thing. That scene in general was fine until it got to the whole part of him like watching this woman's life, and I'm like, I understood what was happening like 2 minutes ago. Just fucking give her more money already. Like that whole thing.
Oh, but the buildup is so important. The buildup in that scene. Yes, it is. It's so important.
Because it didn't feel like it was important to me.
No, because that's why. No, like that entire buildup, like that's what makes that scene of him giving the money. Like that's him realizing the power that he has in his hands and like what he can do with that, and that the potential to be something greater than himself.
No. So I understand that. I understand the build up to that scene, but I'm saying the scene where it's literally just him standing there watching her life.
Well, but that gives you, that helps you to understand. Like, so when that woman goes to the ATM and sees all that money, like you really like. For me, I felt that feeling of like, oh my god, this meant everything to her. This felt like she had gotten like an answer from God at that moment. It must have felt
and then
like
you
that.
Get really sad because then you realize the bank's never actually going to give her that money.
Wait, yeah, they are.
Yeah, he's Cyborg. He can pull that shit.
He was literally saying he could fucking change the stock market. He could do whatever the fuck he wants.
Cyborg could literally like take all the money from Jeff Bezos, and I'm all for it.
Bezos, Jeffy B.
Jeffy B. How quick. I felt. Oh, sorry. Can I finish?
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from, Matt, and I feel like it was good, but I feel like I already got enough of that without them having to like draw out the scenes as much as they did. Like I feel like they could have just showed them like either just shorter in general. Like there was a scene where like she looked at her thing, obviously like she was like evicted or whatever, and then she like tried to unlock it, and then she like looked at the thing again, and then whatever. Like I was like a lot of these scenes, these smaller scenes that they're just kind of jumping from, could have just been smaller. Again, it's a really small nitpick. It's just I feel like it was just, I don't know. I just felt like I was watching it forever for some reason when I was sitting there watching it. I'm like, I feel like this, I already got like where she was coming from. By the time they finished it, I already was like, yeah, I already know what's going to happen. Like, I don't care anymore. So that's what it was for me.
But I feel like if you didn't have that buildup, I feel like the scene would have felt too rushed. The him just like being like, oh yeah, you can control weapons and you can like do all this other cool shit. And then it just cuts to him just like giving money to some random woman. But like if you have that buildup, you understand that he stumbled upon it. He was like, what is this power I have? And it's like, who's this woman? And like, why is she sad? What's going on in her life? And
so the buildup to that is fine. Again, like him going through, like literally talking through it, him walking through all that stuff was completely fine. It's just that specific when he gets to that point and he's just watching her life, I just feel like it was just a little bit too much. That's all. I think the build up to that is completely fine because I think that it does give it enough build up to be like, look at how much power you have, all that shit about, it's not going to be whether you can do it, it's whether if you should or whatever the fuck you said. Basically, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, but you need to establish that she's poor. You need to establish that she's in dire straits.
And I feel like they already did that. Like,
did they? But I mean,
pretty easily.
But they did that through the montage that we're talking about. Like, that's why that scene.
Yeah, but I'm seeing like it's just such like a long montage.
It's not that long. It's not that long.
I gotta agree with Matt on this one.
I felt like it was so long, man.
Can I just say, as you guys are discussing this, I can't help but think of the Patrick meme of "we have technology." I like to imagine it's just him going through like this really high tech scene, and then just jumps cut to him punching an alien.
Don't forget, we have technology.
I thought you were referring to that the Family Guy joke where it was like it was like a riff on the $6 Million Man. It's like, we have the technology, we can rebuild him, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. And then it just cuts to like him with like a rake for a leg. Do we want to go? Did you want to give her like final thoughts in the movie and then do another break?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think of, because it was like there is a lot to this movie, but I feel like at the same time it was just, I don't know. Do you mind if I just go first then at this point?
Sure, go right ahead.
All right, so I would say, are we trying to give it a score too?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, I would probably say I'd say like a 77.5 out of 10. Again, I do think it's a good movie. I don't think it's for everybody in the same way that I do think like a lot of Marvel movies are just kind of overall more like just like family, kind of like anybody could fucking watch it and probably would like it. I do think DC is more for a specific crowd, so to speak. Yeah. But I just feel like this movie specifically, the only reason I would give it a lower score is, again, I'm going back to just the whole like, just the whole setup thing, and I guess my issue is I'm thinking of DC as a whole, like the DCEU of like, I guess if you put this movie in the DCEU, I give it probably like a 7. Maybe a 6 even, maybe even lower. But would you take it as what it is? I'd probably give it like a 7.5 to an 8, only because for what it is, it's a good movie. If this was just a standalone, I'd be like, okay, cool. But at the same time, it can't just stand alone because obviously it's taking a lot of things from the other movies. So it just the whole setup thing for me, it was good. It was done well. But like you guys were saying, it's missing certain parts that could have been in there if they've already previously established a lot of this stuff. Yeah. So for me, that's kind of where I'm at there.
Nice. Okay.
Colin, you want to go next?
Sure. A lot of things. There are a lot of things I disliked about this movie, but there are some pretty good parts that I also actually legitimately did like. Just not enough for me to recommend this movie.
Let me pause it for just let me press pause on you first.
Sure, go for it.
I hate that they changed Mira to a blonde British woman. The same actress, but now she has a fucking British accent and like blonde hair instead of red and American accent.
Well, it's more accurate to say that James Wan changed it, I think. But
I mean, is it?
I mean, because that was made afterward. But
yeah, I guess
I thought that was very funny too. Either way, recast Amber Heard because Amber Heard is a cunt.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah. Make it Emilia Clarke. Go on, Colin.
Oh, there you go.
A lot of things I liked in this movie. A lot of things I disliked. That's why I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. No, fucking 6 out of 10. It's on the right track. It's the right track, but
so is that just in general, or is that like were you going to do something where I did, whereas you've taken it out of the DC? You don't have to. I'm just asking.
Standalone movie, 6 out of 10. If it was trying to be like a team-up movie, it's like a 3.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that's a lot worse than I was going to say. I'd say like maybe like worst case like a 5.
Better as a standalone movie, but when you take into consideration everything else, it's lazy.
It really does drag it down. Honestly, overall the movie was good, but when you include it with everything else, it just kind of drags it down.
Yeah.
Well, by everything else, you mean Man of Steel and BVS?
Yeah, the other two.
Yeah.
Nope. That's technically, I guess technically that is before, but they released it after, and the way the beginning starts, it is after.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah, but also like Wonder Woman, like of the 3 that came before. Well, actually, yeah, it was. Yeah, Wonder Woman.
No, yeah, you're right. Actually, it did come.
Wonder
before.
Woman was before
right.
Justice League.
Yes,
but after BVS. Yeah. But of those 3, Wonder Woman is probably like the best of those 3.
But it's also like the most detached, realistically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny you say that. Made that joke, Colin, because my original rating for this was gonna be a 10 out of 10. When I was like kind of like misty eyed writing my notes for this review, just like I feel like everything that I love about this film, its through line narrative, its connections between the different characters, the visuals, the way that it feels like a Tolkien-inspired epic as told by as told by
but obviously
Zack
not as
Snyder.
Relatable because it's not in
Of
Middle-earth.
course, and not as realistic as environments. Frank.
Jeez. Everything I love about this movie I think can be summarized through like the message of the film that is made as clear as it's ever going to be with Cyborg at the end, that the things that are different about you don't make you broken and that you're never truly alone. And I think that whole message, I think, is the perfect message for a Justice League movie. And maybe this isn't the perfect Justice League movie, the one that we the one that I think we wanted, years back before the DCEU was even a concept, but I think there is a lot of merit to it in terms of the love and the passion that Snyder put into it. And though I may disagree with the way that he sometimes portrays characters, I've grown a lot of respect for him as a director, but I don't think it necessarily deserves a 10 out of 10, but I went back and forth between an 8 or a 9, but I love this film enough that I think I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, nice. I will respect I'll respect that. I will say, actually, I want to talk one more thing. Did you say I won't? I do want to say one more thing that I didn't get to say. I really did not like. I'm with Colin. Like, I don't like how they did Batman in this. Like, I feel like he really was kind of like useless this whole thing.
It's so strange, right? Because like that, like I remember watching the extended cut of BVS, and that little like the fight scene in the warehouse is already like one of I think the best Batman fight scene ever put to film.
Oh yeah, I love that fight scene.
But in the extended cut, they edited a longer like just a few seconds where after that guy like stabs that one dude in the shoulder, he just kind of like glares at him for a good 5 seconds, just like stares this motherfucker down and then chokes him, and then it cuts to the next scene, and it's just like, oh god, it is that was Batman, and I didn't feel that here. But I will say, I do love him as Bruce Wayne as well.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, I bought the bank.
So like I feel like that this is a film where that to me is the most impressive thing. Like they made Bruce Wayne like more of a character, like for what Bruce Wayne can offer. Why the fuck is Discord notifications still playing when I muted it. God damn it. I hope that doesn't come across in the recording.
It's fine, whatever.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
But fucking
we're a professional show already, mad people.
Yeah. I know. we need to do an ad break soon because we didn't do it for the last
ad break.
I know. But I agree in that they didn't really have like Batman was not like great. It was just like Bruce Wayne was really the only person who actually like really did anything, and even then, like he didn't really do that much.
Yeah.
Which is weird considering he literally traded blows with Superman.
Yeah.
So like he could have made a suit. He could have did something. Like he knew this was happening. Like he made a suit pretty fucking quick in Batman versus Superman. Like, bro, you had time.
It's true. But yeah, so that's a 7 out of 10 from Michael, a 5, or what was it? It was a 6 out of 10 from Colin, and 9 out of 10 from me. When we get back, we're going to go across the pond, as it were, to the jolly old MCU. And we're going to talk about the first two episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier. We would talk about the third, but we're recording this on a Thursday. So I'm just gonna
supposed to tell them that, man.
They've known that for a while.
I know.
So let's just hope that third episode is great. And if it isn't, then oh man, the dramatic irony is gonna be hilarious. But,
Matt, what's wrong?
Oh God, Colin, I had a terrible nightmare that our critically acclaimed podcast, The Critical Spectrum, wasn't getting any listeners.
Matthew, that would never happen.
How can you be so sure?
Because, you silly goose, we're using Anchor. Anchor is a free podcast publishing service with tools to create, upload, and edit your own podcast from your computer, phone, or tablet. You want to know the best part? It will publish your episodes on all major podcast sites, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
Yeah, I know that. We host a show together, dude.
And that's not all, my dear Matthew. You can make money using Anchor with no minimum listenership required.
Hey, come to think of it, what are you doing in my house?
Oh, I'm robbing you.
What? Hey, get back here! Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. We all ready for this?
Y'all ready for this?
Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah. We can also we should also review that.
Isn't Kong out? The Godzilla versus.
Oh yeah, Kong's out.
Yeah, I heard
is that on HBO?
It's also on HBO Max.
Oh shit! I actually didn't know that. I was just joking. I'll fucking probably watch that at some point.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm only gonna watch it if we want to do a review for it.
Right. We have Mortal Kombat. I'd rather watch that for a review.
Oh, same. And by the way, we really do need to get together for a time to watch like Dark Knight Returns or Promare.
Yeah, I know. I just thought of that literally as we were talking about watching stuff.
Because, dude, like, I've rarely been more proud of anything more so than that Culture Corner intro that we did.
Culture Corner.
That, like, I think we need to listen to that after we're done recording because I just that is so beautiful.
Not to toot my own horn or anything.
Yeah.
No, it was good. I like that.
Just good lord. All right. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the ad. It's striking to me that with what Anchor does, like if we upload a new ad, it'll just upload that ad to every single episode retroactively, which means that at a certain point, I kind of want to I had the idea as we go on, we should make ads with trivia and like little trivia games for the episode, for certain episodes, so that people could go back to previous episodes and like try to find shit.
Going off that idea, Matt, I think we can discuss this later, but our ad should tell a story. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
But the only problem is if somebody joins and starts following our podcast later on, they're going to be out of touch with the story, which means we're going to have. Which means we're gonna have.
They're gonna be watching the first episode and the ad. They're gonna be so fucking confused.
Yeah, it'll be like last time on the Critical Spectrum ad break, and then it'll just be like Michael like dying from like blood. It's like it's getting cold. Everything's so cold, and then it's like, what the fuck did I just tune into?
Why are there mushrooms everywhere?
It's his mother's name.
His mother's name.
It's ever.
Why do you say that name?
No, this is what we can do, Matt. We can just upload an episode that's every ad, but then we can just keep editing the ad and re-uploading it every time we make a new one, so people can catch up on the lore.
Oh my God.
We're gonna make a new ad, but there's gonna be a little something different. It's like, can you tell the difference between these two ads?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's gonna be that fucking Office meme. They're the same.
Yeah,
They're the
exactly.
same. They're the same. So Falcon the Winter Soldier is a cool show.
That's cool.
Yeah, all right.
The first two episodes came out and immediately kind of gave me what I was talking about a couple episodes ago. Tactical Marvel.
Oh, I killed this guy's son. Now I'm his friend.
Yeah.
That was actually really sad.
That was really sad, actually. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
But in all seriousness, I think the thing that I wasn't expecting, because, you know, when I talked about it, I was like, oh, fucking guns, fucking spies, fucking adrenaline. But I think I'm actually most excited. I'm most excited about two things with this show. The character-focused drama and spending a lot of time with these characters and, like, their trauma and, you know, overcoming, you know, things that, the legacies of the people that came before them. I'm also very excited. I'm especially excited and maybe a little bit worried, but only because execution can be dodgy at times. Like social and political commentary. Those are the two things that I'm most excited about with this show, and that's not something I was really expecting. But watching the first episode, I was like, man, I never thought that the MCU was going to give me like Bucky grappling with his trauma outside of the craziness of Civil War or Infinity War. And I especially didn't expect to see like Falcon get denied a loan. So this first episode was really powerful to me.
It really was. And part of the reason why I love it so much is the same what you're saying. But the thing is, Marvel Comics actually do have those darker tones to them, or those darker themes, and that like Tony's realistically is supposed to be like an alcoholic grappling with that, and say I'm assuming Bucky and probably same with Cap, they probably both have like PTSD and stuff like that. I'm assuming. I don't really know too much about all the issues they have, but I know like a lot of Marvel characters do really have those like real human issues that they didn't really go into because it's a lot more family friendly. And I feel like Disney with these shows have just kind of been more like, fuck it, like let's just do, like realistically, kids aren't going to sit down and watch these shows. Like they know that I think it's going to be more for a more adult audience. So I do really appreciate them kind of, going through and going through with those darker themes. I'm trying to stop myself from running on because my brain can't keep up with what I'm saying. But no, I definitely agree with you. Like that was probably my favorite part of this whole series is that, or the two episodes was that they were really, grappling with that kind of stuff. And that was the first episode really, really pulled me in with the whole Bucky thing. And then the second episode even pulled me in even more with more Bucky and same with Falcon too, obviously with everything going on.
Yeah. And Isaiah. The first Black Captain America.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isaiah was a perfect. I don't know. I'm assuming you guys probably kind of saw this too, but Isaiah is literally like the perfect representation of both of their traumas put together. It's basically the first Black Captain America, and what he went through and America turned him into. And then you also have the other side where he was a super soldier and what he was meant to do was to kill and that stuff. So he's literally Bucky and Falcon put together in one character. And I thought that was like a really interesting thing to see. And that they both had their own, not exactly issues with what was going on, but like, they had their own views on him, and that, Bucky was more seeing him like one of him in a way and the super soldier, and Falcon was seeing him in one as him, as in there's a black, there's basically a Captain America that was already black that America just forgot about.
Oh, and dude, just that whole scene, like it was giving me like, even just through dialogue alone, it was giving me that tactical boner, just like of like, oh my God, like this guy just talking about like, yeah, we were in the Korean War and they sent me to kick his ass. I was like,
yeah, shit, they had me, dude. It's like, oh shit.
Oh my God.
Speaking of tactical, Matt, second episode gave me what I've always wanted, and that's Captain America with a gun, with the pistol and the shield. I thought,
see, my issue, I mean, I don't know enough about this guy yet, but like my issue is that like, my issue with this whole thing about Captain America, like having somebody else take up the mantle, is like, nobody's going to be as effective as Steve.
That's true.
He's literally a super soldier. Unless you give it to Bucky, nobody is going to be as skilled, at least fighting wise, as Steve.
Well, if
like that, and I mean, they kind of showed that obviously in that, like when he was fighting the super soldiers on the truck, like obviously he didn't really put up as great of a fight because he's not a super soldier, but I don't know. Part of that just bothers me, like him like throwing the shield, getting it back normally and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, like, do you have these like superhuman fucking instincts and reflexes and shit? Because it doesn't seem like you're supposed to.
Right. Yeah.
But like, but that's the thing. Like, I feel like by the end of the series, either Sam is gonna take the super serum, because clearly there's somebody with the super serum out there, since the Flag Smashers, the current quote unquote antagonists.
Before we go on there, Matt, you know how I was making fun of the name Flag Smashers before?
Yeah.
I liked how they acknowledged that it was a dumb name in the show.
Yeah, they really did. I think that was great.
Okay, go on.
And actually, I think it's the opposite, man. I think what they're going to do is they're going to more of have I mean, maybe not, who knows, but I think they're going to do more of like, not exactly the cliche, but more of like be comfortable in your own skin kind of thing.
Okay.
Like instead of saying like, like they're going to basically like be like, oh, you have the choice to do it. And he's going to be like, no, like that's not what I'm going to do. Like I'm just going to be my own Captain America. I feel like that's what he's going to do.
I feel like what's going to happen is that Captain America is going to be retired as a actual fighting force, and is literally just going to be a mascot essentially.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. Well, because like again, it's more of like what they're talking about is that being Captain American isn't just being about a soldier,
right?
It's about being a symbol for what people can aspire to,
right?
If you kind of realize, because I think Frank actually pointed this out to me. This goes back to at Endgame, before Steve goes to the time machine, he looks at Falcon. He says, "You're a good man." And what does the doctor say to Steve before he gets his stuff? He goes like, "You're a good man." And that was the biggest thing, is that he says what's greater than being a good soldier is being a good man. So Bucky is the perfect soldier, whereas Falcon is a good man. And Steve said, hey, I think that's really what they were trying to go with, is that saying, hey, Falcon deserves a shield because he's not just going to be a great soldier with it. He's going to be a good man. He's going to be somebody that, he's going to be the symbol. He's going to be able to carry on that.
Yeah.
So I do understand that. I do think that's really cool if that's what they're going for. Obviously, it could just be people looking into it so, intently, and maybe they'll just be like, oh, fuck it, maybe we should go like that. But that's what I like so far, is that like just seeing these tidbits beforehand that are kind of like adding up into this. If that is correct, I feel like is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because like obviously with Bucky 2, I mean, this goes to season 2, or not season 2, episode 2. Where he says, like, oh, if Steve was wrong about you, and I feel like he's kind of saying that in the saying he was a good man part and all that. He's like, if he's wrong about you, that means he's wrong about me.
Yeah, that was so like heartbreaking, that moment.
That was honestly probably one of my favorite scenes in the show so far already.
Yeah. They're doing a great job with those two like characters, like, because we already knew they had good chemistry in like interviews, those two actors, but like seeing them like finally get their buddy cop picture. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, that was good.
I really am excited to see what they do with John Walker though. John Walker, U.S. agent, the like,
Yeah.
because it's like both he is an interesting character and also just his existence and the situation comes with it this kind of like uneasiness. Like, like
that's a thing that I found odd though, Matt, was that it felt like they wanted me to hate this character, but at the same time, it's Sam's fault. He didn't want the mantle. So,
that's the thing though, is that it's not his fault in that he didn't give up the mantle. He gave up the shield so that it would be, I mean, yeah, technically he did give up the mantle, don't get me wrong, but he specifically didn't give it to them to do another Captain America. He thought they were going to put it into a memorial for Steve. That's what he thought.
Right. And then as soon as they need it, but then also think about it, like as soon as they needed a Captain America, instead they didn't go to Sam, they didn't go to Falcon and be like, hey, you want to take up the mantle and be Captain America. Instead, what they did was they got their US operative, they appointed their safe like white Captain America and even gave him like a black sidekick, as if the mantle of Captain America is mandated to have one, which again adds to this kind of like this unease that's like subtextually you kind of, and even Bucky kind of points it out, because as soon as the guy like mentioned like what's your name, he was like Battlestar, and he's like, stop the fucking car, I'm getting out. I love that moment.
At the same time though, it's like except for the end of episode 2, they didn't really give me a reason to dislike this guy.
Ooh, John Walker?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're planning on. I mean, at least not yet. I don't really know too much about him in the comics. If he's supposed to be like a villain or what.
Yeah.
Other than like the end of episode 2, where it's like, "Don't get in my way." Other than that, I mean,
from what I heard, like they're trying to make. They were saying that they're trying to give a more human side of John Walker, so they're probably
And I think it's less of seeing John Walker as the villain, and it's more like kind of starting to kind of criticize the system that put him there in that position in the first place. Because you're also, think about the enemy, think about the Flag Smashers as they've been presented in these first 2 episodes. Apart from them, that one guy beating the shit out of Falcon's friend, like what have they did? Like they stole medical supplies that they were going to give to revolutionaries. That doesn't like any other movie. That would kind of be that I feel like would be the plot line. That would be like what the protagonists were trying to get to, or to get to like people who needed it. So like there's even a great line. John Walker says like, yeah, revolutionaries, are typically aren't, radical revolutionaries typically aren't good for anyone. And then Sam says like that says the people who usually have the resources. And it's just like there's this there's this commentary there. There's something there that's like kind of like criticizing like the kind of the military superstructure there that I'm interested to see what they do with that.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, because that's part of the thing with me too, is like technically like they're not the bad guys from what I can tell. Like they're not exactly bad. I mean, what they're trying to, the ways they're going about some things may not be great, but like their whole goal in mind was to, at least until, I don't know, episode 2, part of their whole goal when they were talking about it, I was like, it's going a little too far. But the whole goal of like, one people, like basically uniting the world kind of thing. I mean, that's something that hypothetically that would be nice to have, like a world that's united. That would be pretty great. Think about the things we could do if we had all of our resources put together to do one, like, hey, if we want to go ahead and go to space, well, guess what? Every single fucking resource in the world is going towards going to space. That kind of stuff. So that makes sense. But at the same time, they were also like, it was better the way before, basically, when half the people were fucking gone. So it's like, okay, that's a little much.
When they introduced the Flag Smash, I was like, oh shit, it's the Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah, I know. When he showed me that, I was like, oh shit. You get like, he gets like a Falcon just gets one of the fucking papers, and then all of a sudden he gets you're my original war. I will say, I believe that they are going to make Falcon like specifically Captain America, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the comics, his like friend that told him about the Flag Smashers, I'm pretty sure he takes up the mantle of being Falcon in the comics. So they're probably going to do that.
I can see it.
Interesting. Well, apparently that kid who is like the caretaker for Isaiah, apparently he's supposed to be like a big name too in the comics. I thought I heard something.
See,
about
that's
that.
a crazy thing about Marvel and where they're at already. They are introducing so many people that I like fucking don't know about them.
Yeah.
And they're just
the kid that Sam talks to on the way to Isaiah is someone.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Honestly, though,
that was a fun interaction. Oh, it's Black Falcon. It's like just Falcon. What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, that was good. I like that.
I'm very excited.
What I'm saying, like,
yeah, go on.
I feel like this is kind of like where you guys are talking about the human moments mixed with like the grittiness, because I do feel like this is a lot more of a gritty show. Not a lot more gritty, but a grittier show than what Marvel is used to doing. So I do feel like having those human moments, like you were saying, like just talking to a kid, like realistically in Justice League, I can't really think of anybody just talking to like a random civilian besides Barry when he's going for his job interview.
Yeah.
That's like the only time where like they're interacting with somebody in the world that's not like a super important superhero, you know?
Yeah.
So that's part of it too, is like this like literally is grounding the character more, where he's like literally talking to people on the streets. He's literally getting stopped by cops like that. You don't see that every day. I mean, obviously it's not a good thing that you get stopped by the cops, but you don't understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get it.
It's very real world kind of grounded thing that shows like the humanity in him, but he's also, you know, they're also showing where they're like, every time somebody's like, oh shit, oh, you're a Falcon, they're like all of a sudden like they're being like superhero praising him kind of thing. It's a very interesting way of going about it overall. I do really enjoy that. On how they're making more human, but also a little bit more grittier than what they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Going off the human moment thing, I thought Bucky's attempt at a date was great, but also sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought it made me laugh so much when he was like, how old are you? 104.
You're like, no, how old are you really? And
it's like 104. Yeah. So, okay. So my question is that maybe they'll go through it, or maybe they've already gone through it, is like, how the fuck does he still look like so young?
I was always confused about that, on how Bucky looks young, because I get how Cap, because the whole frozen and ice shtick,
right?
But I've never understood Bucky's whole thing.
So it's basically he was cryogenically frozen by Hydra, and they just bring him out of the ice and then brainwash him with the coded phrase from Civil War every time they need to activate him for a mission, and then after he's killed the target, they just take him and then they just put him on ice again. So he's.
When the fuck did they say that? Was that in Winter Soldier?
Well, I mean, it's just kind of implied. Like at the beginning of Civil War, you see them take him out, take him off the ice. They take him out of that chamber in like Siberia or wherever it was, and then they put him in the chair. They do the coded phrase like that Zemo reads to him in Civil War later in the film.
Then I need to fucking rewatch that, because I don't remember any of this shit.
So that's basically the reason he looks so young. He's about the same age. He's about the same age as he was in, like, you know, when he died in like the first Captain America movie, plus a couple of years probably because of all the assassination missions he took place in. I know that Black Widow says how many missions he partook in, like how many, like I think she says over a certain number of assassinations.
Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense then, because I mean, in the comics, I know super soldiers are supposed to like age super slowly. But it to me now, it looks like they're just kind of aging normally. A little bit. In some cases worse, seeing as Steve is fucking old as shit in Endgame. But yeah, just because like Isaiah and all that, like they're older, so that makes a lot more sense to me than if it was a cryogenic thing. I was thinking like maybe it was just something different about the super soldier serum that he had, and maybe that's why. But that makes more sense now. So thank you for clearing that up for me. I'm glad I said something.
You think old Steve is gonna make a cameo?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but at some point, because I'm pretty sure I've been hearing that he's signed on to at least 6 other projects.
God damn.
Yeah, so it's going to be the alt universe stuff. He's probably going to show up at least once in like the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah. What I think that there's 3 things I think are going to happen. He might show up in Falcon and Winter Soldier as old Steve, just to be like, Falcon, this is why I chose you. And then I don't know if he'll show up as old Steve besides that, but I do think he's going to show up as at least from what I've been hearing, as the Hydra Captain America from an alternate universe. And then some people think that he might be the Human Torch again in the Multiverse of Madness and have to come in like that.
That would be wild.
That would be funny.
I don't think they would do that because I don't think, maybe they do, but I feel like they wouldn't do that because they don't want to associate like all the other movies with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, that would be a perfect way to do it.
Yeah. That'd be pretty wild.
Yeah, like it's an alternate universe. That would be pretty fucking wild. That'd be pretty cool. But I kind of want them to do that.
I'm excited to see how like Zemo and Sharon Carter are like brought into the story, because like Zemo already, like
Zemo, he's so cool.
Yeah, I like how he's like, superheroes should not exist, but like now he's like fully gone, like full supervillain. So he's gonna have the mask and the full like fucking leather coat and all that shit with the fur collar.
He looks so cool in that with all that.
He does. And I'm excited for Sharon Carter to like have a larger role, because like she was cool in Winter Soldier, and she was always cool. It's just that they didn't really do much with her, which is sad.
Yeah, I will say, sorry, this is kind of going back to the whole Super Soldier Steve thing. I feel like sometimes in the action, I feel like when like Falcon kicks somebody, I feel like they fly back too far for not having any kind of like enhanced strength. But that's just my own 2 cents there for a second.
Oh yeah, I get that. I can see that.
Like sometimes you just hit somebody. I was like, I feel like they flew back like 5 feet. Like if you don't have any enhanced strength, like how does that happen?
Right. I don't know what made me think about this, but if Marvel was a bit more okay with gore, you know what I think would be pretty dope is if Falcon could do some fucking acrobatic shit and like cut people with his wings. That'd be dope.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty cool.
I think like, Corridor Digital did something like that with the opening scene of Civil War at some point. Like they had them, they just like made it R-rated.
They did. He cut off somebody's head with his
wings.
Wings, yeah. Now I think about it. And the same, I think I'm pretty sure Steve cut somebody in half by throwing the shield through him.
Oh shit.
Man, what great lads over there.
Fucking US agent coming in and just thinking he can throw that shield.
Well, that's what I'm saying, bro. He's a fucking super soldier.
Yeah,
I understand they were kind of like, oh, he's the peak human kind of thing. He surpassed all the tests. He's all at the top of his class.
They steroids.
They showed that video of him like bouncing the shield. I'm like, my ass.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, there's no way you could do that if you're not a super soldier. Like, you have to have some kind of. So, I mean, realistically, even if you're a super soldier, I don't think that's how physics works. But,
right. Yeah. So maybe we're overthinking it.
Yeah, maybe we're just overthinking it. But still, like, I feel like it would be a lot easier if you had, if you were basically the perfect human, which is what
I don't know. I mean, I almost said Rob Stark. Who's
Rob Snyder.
The fucking Tony's dad. He did say to Cap in the first one that like it does like weigh like significantly less than what was it? How did he pitch fucking the what's the metal
that's made? Shit. That's all. Vibranium.
Vibranium. Yeah. So
I just remember him saying it's really light.
Yeah. So maybe it's not as unbelievable as we may have thought that he could like toss that shit around.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I just feel like he wouldn't be able to do it very effectively.
Maybe not.
Like, it looks like he was like throwing it at people and they were like getting staggered and shit, like the super soldiers, if I'm not mistaken. They were like, oh shit, I got hit by a shield. But I'm like,
definitely take some practice.
Speaking Speaking of powers, what's Battlestar's whole deal in the comic?
I have no idea. I didn't know who the fuck that guy is.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I did like when they showed up when it was just like it's the most like Saturday morning cartoon like introduction of a hero ever. Yeah. Like he comes off the chopper and then like Battlestar swings in and kicks a guy off the truck.
Yeah,
and then they high five. I was like, oh man. It's just but you're right. You know, him having it like just the simple action of like him. John Walker having the gun already, like in a very small way, sets him apart.
Yeah, it really kind of makes like when I first saw it, immediately I was like, "That's not Captain America."
Oh, but I thought it was so cool.
No, don't get me wrong. It's cool. It's cool, but it doesn't like. I feel like that's something like Bucky would do too, and it's like that's not really, that's not what Captain America kind of symbolizes. At least what the show is trying to lead you to believe, or at least the whole MCU, in that like it's supposed to be like. I don't know. I guess just morals that are higher than a normal humans, I guess, in a way.
Right.
So I feel like just that scene in itself was very like, this is why he's not a good pick for Captain America right away. It's because he immediately has, killing in mind. He has a shield, but he also has the pistol.
At the same time, you could argue the pistol makes up for the super strength in some ways.
I mean, true, but at the same time, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure fucking Steve has killed a lot of people just by punching him, but it's not as like lethal.
Yeah, blunt force trauma takes a lot longer to kill you.
Yeah, but like he's not killing him; he's trying to knock him out.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I just feel like overall, I feel like it was an interesting way of trying to show the differences. Like,
right.
Like even Falcon doesn't use a gun. Okay, actually, I lied. He has this like fucking dual wielding machine guns. Right? Doesn't he? Right?
Yeah, he does. I remember the scene you're talking about.
I can't even think of the scene, but I know that I've seen it.
Yeah,
but he doesn't really use them, at least in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, no, he hasn't used a lot of guns yet. But you're right. Like Civil War and Winter Soldier, he had like two like TMPs that he had like. I think they actually like he didn't even have them holstered. They like deployed from like his wrists.
Yeah.
Just
he had some
ballers
dope
all hell.
ass, Stark Tech shit, bro.
Also, I just need a random side tangent. A friend of mine messaged a group chat. It's my friends from Japan, and I know that they're gonna listen to this episode at some point in the future and be like, "Oh man, why'd you tell them this?" He says on another more pressing note, does anyone have any advice for a burn? Now, this is the next thing he says. I've heard you can use bacon fat. Is that true? And someone says, do you got any aloe vera? I was like, absolutely not, but I have bacon fat. I've never heard of bacon fat being used to treat burns.
I've never heard of bacon fat.
I
haven't either, but in the same way, you could, I don't know. I could see it. Bro.
But here's the thing, 6 minutes later, turns out that was not the right idea. And then he quote, putting butter or other greasy ointments on a burn may actually make things worse since the gums will slow the release from the skin. Oh, man.
Mustard, bro.
Mustard?
Yeah, you never heard that? Put mustard on it.
Put mustard on a burn? I've never heard that either.
Mm-hmm. I've done it before and actually relieves it. I don't know what it is about it, but mustard on the burn.
I feel like that would have burned more, but...
Well, I mean, you're not like ingesting the mustard realistically, so
right.
That's probably why.
Right. But like if you get mustard on like a sore in your mouth, that shit burns.
But that's because that's different.
I guess.
Because if you think about a burn is kind of like your skin, you don't really have feeling in the skin.
It's not an open wound. Yeah, right. That's true.
And plus, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably because it has a little bit of like a vinegary stuff in it, which vinegar evaporates a lot easier. Well, yeah, just a lot easier than grease, which again, it kind of holds the heat like you're saying. So maybe that's why. I don't know. I don't know what the fucking science behind it is. I just know I've used it. It feels nice.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm looking this up now.
Your friend's gonna get hella acne on wherever you put that.
Yeah, right. Oh, wait, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, well,
tonight it's just all my friends thinking things inaccurately and then trying solutions and then them fucking up.
Listen, I've used it before and it felt nice. But I looked up why mustard works for burns. It's like mustard on burns, why you shouldn't use it.
Oh my God.
There's no scientific evidence supporting mustard as a remedy for minor burns. Wait, what? That's how that sentence ends. In fact, mustard may actually cause your skin to burn or worse.
Oh my God. We just keep making this mistake.
All these years.
Don't worry, let me look at the very non-biased mustardmuseum.com. The scientific answer.
Use it for everything. Cure your AIDS with mustard. So I think we can all agree Falcon Winter Soldier is pretty cool.
It's good. I mean, it's good. I'm interested to see where it goes.
It's pretty cool, just like mustard on a burn.
I'm not as enraptured as I was about WandaVision, but I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, we're already a third of the way through.
I was gonna say I agree, but I feel like that's because
the episode.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and that's where I was gonna come from. I think this is basically gonna be what what Snyder was gonna do instead of doing like the 4-hour movie. He was gonna do 4 episodes. I feel like that's what this is gonna turn out to be. It's gonna be basically like a 6-hour movie. That's what I feel like.
And we got Loki, right? Right after that?
Not right after. I think Loki's in June. So I think we might have like a month without something.
Okay.
Which is kind of oof.
That's still going to be pretty fun. So we're pretty cool.
Disney's siphoning $8 used to be $7 Disney. That's strike one. $8 out of me a month for one show I watched. So.
Yeah, but they're going to... Honestly, you're probably going to end up paying that for like a while.
Yeah, but like watch.
They're gonna have this. What
you can watch all the other like yearly Disney movies that you forget exist. Like
exactly.
I can watch,
I want to watch Raya and the Last Dragon, but I don't want to pay $30 or whatever.
Oh yeah, just wait for it.
So somebody told me you can pay for it, which was like the $30 to actually like keep it, but that you could also like rent it for less. That's what I was told.
Really?
But I haven't looked into that. But that's what I was told. I kind of feel like I don't know if that was correct or not because I never looked into it, but that's what I was told. So
should I watch Moana? I've heard really good things.
It's pretty good. I liked it.
Okay. I thought it was good.
Way better than Frozen.
Not surprising. I'm not surprised at all.
Way better than Frozen.
I'm trying to think of another Disney because I know I heard some good things about Soul.
Never watched it.
Yeah. I do want to watch Raya after that like comes out later. I don't know. There's
you can watch on Disney Plus without paying
the money. Yeah. Man, I'm
speaking of that. Black Widow's coming out in July.
That's true. That's true. I'm so glad that I wasn't the one who had to pay for the live action Mulan when I watched it with my cousin.
I'm so glad I just didn't watch it.
Oh yeah. You weren't missing much.
That's what I've heard.
God, it was terrible. It was awful. But I also went with my sister before she moved to her new house. We watched the old Kim Possible movie, the TV movie from like it was like did you guys ever watch Kim Possible?
No.
Yes.
Oh, do you remember the movie where Kim and Ron like kissed at the prom?
Yes, I do remember that.
We watched that movie.
I actually didn't know that was a movie.
yeah, that was like the TV movie. That was a fucking event, dude.
I don't remember that, man. But I remember watching it.
You know what Disney needs to do with their whole live action shtick they've got going on? Mm-hmm. Instead of
stop
that, or instead of just rehashing the animated versions, just do the historically accurate versions.
I mean, isn't that kind of what they were doing with Mulan? But like,
no, Mulan actually had like way sadder.
Yeah, and the Mulan live action film that they added like there was like chi and like magic and shit.
Oh,
but it wasn't interesting.
I'm talking about like with Cinderella, add like the grim fairy tale version.
Yeah,
that would be kind of cool, actually.
Like the live action and Mulan. God, the actual Mulan. Is fucking that terrible life.
Yeah.
Like they found she was a woman, they bound her feet. I'm pretty sure she became a concubine her whole life. Yeah, it's sad.
Oof.
Bad time. Bad time.
I don't think
Sad
Disney's
times.
going to do that.
No, it's not. But I'm just saying it'd be a lot. It would be pretty interesting to see live
It'd be a
action
lot more interesting,
versions
yeah.
of like
Well,
the
that's-
and the historical versions.
Because like Beauty and the Beast is like the live action version, while like good still, it was like just basically the animated version.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I have to
Hey.
look up what the Beauty and the Beast is actually based off of.
Hey, if y'all want to watch a really good show that shares the Snow White name in name only, you should really check out an animated series called Snow White with the Red Hair,
Fire Emblem.
which is amazing.
Bro, I was saying the animation looks like the old school Fire Emblem drawing.
Yeah.
Snow
Speaking of that, I've
White-
actually been replaying that,
Which
Oh, really?
one?
or not replaying, but actually trying to finish the.
Three
Houses?
Yeah.
No, not Three Houses.
What?
The one I was playing before that on my
Fates?
3DS, Fire Emblem Fates. Yep.
Oh, the Three Houses is so good.
I mean, Fates is pretty good too, but yeah, I mean, the reason I'm finishing Fates first is because after I finish Three Houses, I'm probably not gonna want to play Fates.
Which version of Fates do you have? Do you have the version where you like betray
Birthright.
the Okay, so which one is that? Is that the one where you betray the family you were raised by, or the one where you just
Betray
or
the
you
one
stay
you were
with
raised
them?
by.
Oh, okay, so it's the stupid one.
Why is that the stupid one?
I don't know. It's just the idea that like you were raised by these people for like years, and then like suddenly the people who are just like,
But you
we're your real
realize,
family.
but you also realize that you are a prisoner.
Yeah, but those
Like that was the whole thing, is that you're the only reason that like.
But you can also have a thing for your siblings before knowing they're your adopted siblings.
well, that's just life.
True. You could actually have things with your siblings that you know are your siblings.
Oh, well, no, because aren't you like Oh, wait, I don't want to spoil it because you haven't
Wait,
finished.
wait,
I already know it.
Wait, was
Okay.
it
You're technically half siblings, yes. But
was it possible to bang the one brother that with like the red armor, like the fucking crab
Yeah,
boy or
Ryoma.
whatever? Oh, what a hunk! All right, so thank you for listening to the Critical Spectrum podcast. We've been going on for about 2 hours 10 minutes. About
Fuck,
maybe.
really? Oh, shit.
Well, actually, more like an hour 50.
time
maybe,
flies when you're having fun, bruh.
Subtracting the 15, or whatever, however long it took for us to get started.
Pretty long.
Follow
Make
us
up
on
for the week we missed.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Look forward to a best of the like behind the scenes video on YouTube. It'll be
Maybe we
about
should make
20
this
minutes.
a 4-hour show. Just kidding.
Oh, Critical Spectrum
No.
Snyder Cut. Here's the thing: if Frank was here, then I'd say absolutely, because it'd be great because we could do like it'll be called the Frank Cut. It'll be we'll do an edit of it.
So we have to redo the same episode, but we have to add Frank in.
No,
Yeah,
just record Frank doing a ton of different reactions and just put him randomly throughout the
Okay.
episode.
So here's what I'll do. What we're gonna do is in like 2 weeks or something, like the next time that we're like, oh man, like the scheduling, I don't know if it's gonna work out. What we're gonna do? We're gonna have another 2-hour episode with Frank talking about his thoughts in Snyder Cut and probably something else, and then on the week that we don't have anything new to release, like maybe we're just scheduling conflicts, I'll put both episodes together. I'll make the aspect ratio in the Adobe Premiere file 4:3, and then I'll make the thumbnail. It'll be the same thumbnail, but it'll be black and white, and and maybe I'll change the logo for that particular episode of the podcast to be a black and white version of our logo.
So wait, should we we have to like somehow make our show feel like it's old? Like we have to do 2 versions. So we have to have that version and then the same version, but our audio is going to be like really like terrible audio.
Just turn down the
that makes
bit rate.
It's going to make it sound like we're like recorded in like fucking like
No.
the 2000s or the early 90s, so that we can it would be the same as if we made it black and white.
But only Frank's audio is actually good quality.
No, see what we do even better, we just make it a silent A silent film podcast.
No. Here's what I'll do. Here's what I'll do.
Subtitle.
The thumbnail for this episode, it'll be that awkward close up shot of like Henry Cavill with the CGI upper lip,
There you go.
and then for
Oh,
the Frank.
Do you bleed?
For the Pontrelli cut, it'll be the fucking it'll be like a shot of him from the Snyder Cut. So we'll, this is way too high concept, and we just ate up 3 minutes just talking about this. Anyway,
And it's never gonna happen.
I kind of wanted to make it happen, but if it doesn't, I'm sorry.
probably won't.
It just was too much time.
We just
I don't
wasted
have
3 minutes of your life for nothing.
I don't have enough anxiety meds to get me through that editing job, but we're gonna links and everything will be in the description. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.